Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Miss Crochet and Coffee here, and today we're doing a whip and chat, so pull out whatever it is you're working on. Work along with me. I am working on my crystal canvas art canvas, the unicorn sitting on the moon. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. It has been a struggle the past couple of days with this homeschooling thing. Let me just talk about it real quick. We're going to get into like the weekend and some other things, but for right now we're going to talk about this homeschooling thing. Yesterday, we were a little bit late signing Maggie into class. Now, she has to be signed in and talk to her teacher for 10 minutes every morning at 8:15. Why she can't do it at 10 o'clock is beyond me, but she has to do it every morning at 8:15. Now, when I set my alarm clock, I set my alarm clock for 7 o'clock in the morning because I have to get up, walk the dogs, come back, feed, water the dogs, feed Maggie, get her up out of bed first, feed her, get her medicine, take my medicine, get Orion up later on during her homeschooling and everything else. So I have a lot to do before she actually starts school. That and make sure her room is clean, because I don't want them to like turn on the camera and see the holy catastrophe that Maggie called the room. So the other morning we were a little bit late getting up. It was like 8:22 when I opened up my eyes and I was like, oh snap. So have you ever been late and did something really stupid? Okay, let me explain. So I got up, got out of bed. Now, when I go to bed, I don't wear pajamas. One, don't judge me. Two, a little bit of TMI for you. I don't wear pants to bed, because why would I wear pants? I don't believe in pants in bed. I don't like the way they feel. I don't even like wearing pants in general, because I don't like the way they feel on my legs. It's a little texture thing for you. So I'm sitting there, and I jump out of bed, and I'm like, oh God, we're late for summer school. So I get up. I like run into Maggie's room, turn on her laptop, turn on her camera. I had gotten her up, or I had told her to get up because we were late. She hops up out of bed. She's looking at me funny, and I'm not sure why. She starts cleaning up her room, making her bed and everything, and she's still looking at me funny. And I go and sign her into class, and her teacher's reading a book to the kids, and Maggie's like, Mommy? I'm like, what's up, Maggie? And I'm like, hold on, let me finish getting you signed in here. As I'm getting her signed in, Maggie then alerts me, because, at this point I have been in her room for a good 3 minutes, and she didn't tell me anything until the camera was on. And she goes, Mommy, where are your pants? And I was like, what? And her teacher goes, huh? And I was like, nothing. I mute the teacher. And I look back at Maggie. I'm like, what are you? Oh, snap. Apparently, I was in so much of a rush to get her into class, I didn't put on pants. Now, when she's in class, she is on a video conference. So it's not like they can't see me. Now, they didn't see me, of course, sit down because the computer wasn't on. Now that the computer's on, I had to find out how to get out of her room, not having any pants on, and just running back to my room. I don't need her class seeing all the no-no parts. So I was like, oh God. And I turn around, and for some reason, in my brain, it was logical to smack the laptop that she has for school. So I smacked it to the point where it turned to the side, and I just ran out of her room. Went and got my sweatpants, put them on, came back in there, and was just like, are you good? And she's like, better now that you have on pants. I'm like, you know what, Maggie, somebody come get her. Somebody come get her. So it was a great weekend. We went camping over at the Badlands. We also got Burger King, which is something we haven't done in, I don't know, a while. Last time I got Burger King is when I got lost trying to find the UPS store, and I went out of state. Because for those of you who don't know, I live like 20-30 minutes away from Montana. Right across the border in Montana is a Burger King, and I got lost trying to find the UPS store when I first moved here, and I ended up going to lunch at Burger King. Haven't had Burger King since, until Saturday when we went to the Badlands. The south end of park wasn't as like, there were a lot of hiking trails, but it was also 97 degrees that day. And I was like, yeah, look, listen, we're going to spend a lot of this time in this car, because I'm not about this life of being out in 97-degree weather. Now, it was hot, but there was like a 45-mile-an-hour wind going. So if you didn't see it already, there was a picture I put up on my Instagram of the kids, and you see Orion reaching out for me. Now, I'm sitting here, and the wind's blowing, and we know, okay, keep an eye on Maggie, because the wind's blowing, so we don't want it to blow her over or blow her, whatever. And we're sitting there, and I'm snapping pictures of the stuff around us, because we're on the top of a lookout. So you can look out and see all the like hills and mountains and stuff in the Badlands, and you can also see the highway from there too. Well, I'm at the lookout. I turn around and I see Maggie and Orion, and the wind is blowing really hard. And it was just like it would blow steadily, and then that big gust of wind would come. Well, every time a gust of wind would come, Orion would grab hold of Maggie so she didn't blow away, because you'd see her just like her little body just shuffling off to the side, and Orion would grab her so she wouldn't go anywhere. Well, I happened to snap a picture right as the wind started blowing. Orion grabbed Maggie and then was trying to grab me because the gust was so strong, it was blowing him over as well. And so, like, he's like, Mommy, grab my hand. Stop taking pictures of me. I'm like, this is so cute. Oh my God, you guys, it was one hell of a trip. The little town that we went into was like an old-timey town. I believe it was called Medora. They had this awesome little sign there about the weather that I also posted up on my Instagram, where it was telling you, like, it was like a rope hanging from this post, and it was like, if the rope is wet, it's raining. If the rope is moving, it's windy. If the rope is white, it's snowing. And it was just the funniest freaking thing. And then it was like, at the end of the list, it said, if the rope is missing, there's a thief in town. I was like, wow. But we got a little bit more history on Teddy Roosevelt, and the kids got to take a picture with the statue, which I put that picture up on my Instagram of the kids with the statue, and everybody kept saying it looked like Robin Williams. And I've never seen Night at the Museum, but apparently he was Teddy Roosevelt in Night at the Museum. I was thinking Jumanji for some reason. And so, like, everybody's like, oh, look, it reminds me of Robin Williams. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, did he dress up as Teddy Roosevelt? I thought that was another guy that was dressed up as, a president or somebody. Anyways, but it was a really fun day. It was hot. It was so hot. And then we kept having issues with, because we decided we were going to just let the kids sit in the car for the most part, because Orion got tired of getting blown over. Maggie got tired of Orion grabbing hold of her. And then for some reason, why is it that kids want to test, like, they're like little adrenaline junkies? We're sitting there and the wind is like really, really going. And we get to the top of a lookout. Why are both kids standing at the edge of the lookout, looking over at the scenery? Which, okay, I get it. You're looking over at the scenery. I got it. You like it, you got it, you good. So the wind would blow and you would see both of them lean forward, like as if they're trying to take a nosedive into the canyon there. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. No. We also found out that the little bird, if you were in my live on Friday last week, I mentioned a little bird that likes to follow the dogs and taunt them. Well, I learned at the Badlands that the little bird isn't taunting the dogs. The little bird is actually trying to get the dogs away from her nest. The bird, apparently we found out, is called a killdeer. Not sure why it's called a killdeer. I'm pretty sure somebody can put that down in the comments. So if you know why it's called a killdeer, put it down in the comments. Apparently, they make their nest on the ground, and they will chase and taunt like animals to keep them away from the nest. And I was just like, okay, well that makes sense, because where we walk the dogs at is a big open field, and usually they're like gathered in the center of the field. They're like it's like they build their nest in the center of the field. So I was like, okay, now that kind of makes sense. One of the other things we saw that was so cute was prairie dogs. Now, have you ever had your child ask you, can you take a wild animal home? Now, the kids absolutely loved seeing the bison, and they loved seeing, we saw some wild horses, and I had a 20-30 minute debate with Mr. Coffee about the wild horses, like how did they get here, who brought them here, how do they get out of here, like can they get out of here, will they just jump the fence, because there's wild horses just sitting around chilling, just like, oh, well, we own this place, so we're just gonna, chill out here. And I'm just like, shouldn't somebody get these horses before like they jump the fence? Like I've seen horse competitions and stuff where the horses will jump fences, and I'm like, is nobody worried about these wild horses? Now, the wild horses made Mr. Coffee's day, because as we were sitting there going up the mountain, we went 24 miles up the mountain before we had to come back down because the rest of the mountain was closed. We go 24 miles up, and on probably like the 20th mile, you see wild horses, and I'm like, oh look, horsies, somebody must have lost their horses or something out here. And he's like, they're wild horses. I'm like, what do you mean wild horses? I didn't realize, for some reason, my brain didn't function right, and was like, wild horses? Who still has, like, horses still run wild? I thought just everybody just owned all the horses in the world, apparently. And Mr. Coffee's explaining to me that, they were probably born there, and that's where they live, and they're called wild horses because nobody owns them, they just live there. Now, we didn't see wild horses on the other side, but as we were driving up the ridge there, we saw the pack of horses coming down the hill, and there was one little brown horse that just for some reason was all by himself. And of course, we're in the car like, oh, poor little horsey, he's all by himself. No, y'all, look, listen, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, okay? We're sitting there watching the poor little horse. It's like walking back and forth on this hill. And I'm like, what is up with this little horse walking back and forth? And then you see the horse lay down, and I'm like, what is the horse doing? This horse was my spirit animal. As all the other horses had ran down the hill, this horse was like, nah, I'm not about this life. So this horse decides that he's going to lay down and then roll down the hill. And I'm like, you are my spirit animal, sir. I love you. Can I take you home with me? And Mr. Coffee's like, you can't. It's a wild horse. I'm like, wild horses can be tamed. How do you think they get tamed in the wild or whatever? Or how do you think they get domesticated, I meant. And this horse literally just starts rolling down this hill. When he gets to the bottom of the hill, he rocks himself back and forth. He stands up, shakes himself off, and then continues to graze as if he didn't just roll the entire way down the hill. At this time, I'm laughing. Mr. Coffee's laughing. The kids are asleep. The kids were bored out of their minds because we didn't do as much hiking this time as we did last time. They were bored out of their minds, and so Orion was like looking out the window, huffing and puffing because he was ready to go home. It was hot. And we did have waters and stuff for everybody, but he was just like, I want to go home and play on my games. And I'm like, this is way better than your video games. I'm like, out here in the wild, you can smell the fresh air. And he goes, get bit by mosquitoes. I'm like, there aren't any mosquitoes out yet. Right as I say that, I look down at my arm and I see a mosquito. I'm like, God dang it. God, really? Really? Anyways. Also, as we were going into, we got a lot more close encounters this time than we did the last time. Because right as we were entering into the park there, we bought an annual pass. That way, if we are able to grab Minna next month, we can take her up because she wants to go see the bison. And I was like, oh, no problem. And we were trying to figure out what's at the south end because we had only been to the north end. And Mr. Coffee has been down that way, but he's never actually been at the park. So right as we go in, there's 2 bison laying on the side of the road. I thought they were dead. Then the one starts rocking back and forth. And I'm like, oh, God, what is it doing? Like, I thought it was some kind of ritual to kill everybody that was staring at it or something. I didn't know what was going on. I never said I was a rational person. So we're slow rolling past these bison, and the one is rocking back and forth, and I didn't realize what it was doing until it got up. It was trying to get itself up because, like, in my mind, they should be able to just stand up. Why don't you just stand up, little bison? No. They can't stand up because they're so big that they have to rock back and forth to get themselves up unless they, like, lay straight down. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay. And then, like, as we drive past, it, like, stares me right in my retinas. I felt like it was staring down into my soul, and I was just like, we gonna die out here today. We gonna die out here today. If this is a sign of what we have to come in this park today, we're gonna die out here today. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, did you see the way that thing looked at me? He goes, okay, we're just gonna keep driving. I'm like, look. He's like, not everything is judging you. Not everything's about you. I'm like, well, I get that, but why is it looking at me like that? Like, he goes, because you're riding near it. Now, these bison are so big. If you don't know, Mr. Coffee has a Dodge 3500. It's a pretty big truck. This bison was so big, like his face came to the window of Mr. Coffee's car, and I'm like, that thing can literally come over here, snatch us, because we were that close to it. I'm like, it could snatch me up out of this car and go take me and make me live in the wild. And he's like, no animal is going to take and try to, like, make you wild. He goes, animals don't turn people wild. I'm like, you don't know what animals are capable of. They get smarter and smarter every day. I never said Miss Coffee was a rational thinker. I'm paranoid about being paranoid now at this point. So, there's that. So we got a lot more close encounters. And the first stop we made, because it has all these little boards along the stop and places that you can stop and look at, like, little information about, like, the animals and stuff that are in the park area there. And the one thing I noticed is that it said there were prairie dogs. Now, we've had prairie dogs here at the house. Like, there was a prairie dog last year that stayed for like 2 or 3 days on my porch. The kids kept wanting to keep it, and I'm like, it is a wild animal. Like, we're fussing with the kids that they can't keep this wild animal in the house. So they made it like a little nest outside for it to stay in, which is probably why it ended up staying for 3 days. But yeah, so it was talking to us about prairie dogs, and then that's how we found out about the killdeer too, because it said you'll see the little killdeer running around the prairie dogs. And I was like, oh, well, that's what those birds are that follow the dogs in the mornings when I go walk the dogs. Mr. Coffee goes, is that them? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what they look like. So we realized that it's the same bird. It's called a killdeer. And then they were, showing us facts about prairie dogs and how red foxes are a natural enemy and badgers. And I'm like, there's badgers out here? I don't think I've ever seen a badger in real life. I imagine it's like a skunk without the stink. I don't know. I've seen pictures, but I don't know what they look like in real life. All I know is I don't want to come encounter with one. And I was more worried about snakes on this side of the park than I was at the other side, because this side had more grass than the other side did. And just to give you an idea of how big this grassland area is, it's 2.5 hours, I believe, from my house to the south end of the park. It's 45 minutes from my house to the north end of the park. So between the north end and the south end, it's a pretty decent size park for the wild animals. And I'm like, one of the signs I remember seeing was that when they get overrun by animals at the park, they send some up to the Native Americans, because there are indigenous people that live in North Dakota. They will give some of it to them, and what they don't take, the farmers take. And I'm like, oh, well, that's really cool. But then I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, how do they keep track of all these animals? And then right as I'm sitting there having this thought about, well, how do they keep track of all these animals, I saw one of the bison with what looked like, the ankle bracelets people get when they get DUIs. I was like, did the bison get a DUI? And he goes, Mr. Coffee goes, what? I'm like, look at the thing on the bison's neck. Now, I didn't get snap a picture of it, because at some point, while we were taking pictures and everything, my phone overheated because it was so hot outside that I couldn't take pictures anymore. So I didn't get as many pictures this time as I normally would have, because my phone was dead for most of the trip. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, it has something around its neck. What is that around its neck? And he goes, well, it's obviously not hurting it because it's just walking around with it on. And I'm like, well, we don't know. And here it looks like some kind of tracking device. And I was just like, is it on house arrest or something? Like, how are you on house arrest on the outside? That's just like, that makes no sense. That's like a homeless guy being on house arrest. Like, it just makes no sense. And he's like, I don't know what it is. Well, we happened to see a park ranger, and we asked the park ranger, what exactly was it? And they were saying that it was a tracking device for the animal. And I'm like, okay, here's the $1 million question. How did you get the animal to stop moving long enough to put that around its neck? How did you not get eaten? I don't know if they eat meat. I don't know if they eat other small animals. I don't know exactly what bison eat. But they have to eat something other than grass, because if grass makes you grow that big, then there's no hope for me, because salads aren't helping me lose any weight. I've probably lost a good 10 pounds since the last time we went, last month. So I'm like, if eating grass for the bison makes them that big, no wonder I'm so big. I've been eating I've been eating salads like they're going out of style. Okay. And I'm like, I'm done eating salads, because I see what it does to them. And he's like, they're not eating salads, they're eating grass. I'm like, yeah, but look at the greenery. Look what the greenery is doing to them. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to be big because I'm eating greenery. I'm like, I'd rather eat like steak and stuff if I'm going to continue to be big. Shoot, let's make this worth it by eating all the bad foods. And he's just like, I'm still not buying you patty pie. You know what? Fine. I tried buying a patty pie. I bought one of the little individual ones, but it tasted like hate and pants, so I couldn't enjoy it. So I was like, no, I gotta con him into buying me a patty pie. It hasn't worked yet. I've been trying all weekend. So we did have a great time at the park. Like I said, the kids weren't having it this time. They were a little bit bored because we didn't get out and walk as much, but that was partly because it was so flippin' hot. It was so hot, you guys. But the wind was blowing, and it was like 45 miles an hour wind, and we're sitting there, and we're at one of the overlooks, and I turned my face to the side right as the wind starts blowing really hard, and right as I did that, it like blew my glasses off my face. So Maggie has on her glasses, Mr. Coffee has on his glasses. Orion's the only one that doesn't wear sunglasses. He usually will wear a hat to keep the sun out of his face. But I'm sitting there and my glasses fall off my face, and then I see Maggie's glasses get blown off her face, and we both, for some reason, we both look up at Mr. Coffee, and he's just sitting there chilling. And I'm like, how in the world did your glasses not come off your face? He goes, I don't know. I'm just sitting here. While everybody else is pushing against the wind to walk up this hill, Mr. Coffee's just walking up the hill like it's nothing. And I'm just like struggling with me and the kids behind him, just trailing behind him as we're struggling to walk up this hill. And he's just like, la, 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 la. Hurry up, you guys. We're never going to get to the top. I'm like, at this point, I want to get back down to the bottom. And if I jump hard enough, the wind will just carry me away. And Maggie's like, oh, really? So now every time the wind would blow, her and Orion would start jumping. The only problem is, again, Maggie is really light. So she's so tiny. She takes after her father. She has a very high metabolism. And so she's really tiny. And she went to go jump. And when she went to go jump, the wind carried her about half a foot away from where she was. Where meanwhile, Orion's trying to hang on to her, but he can't hang on because the wind was so strong it just made him let go. And you just see her shuffle. She just jumped up and went, phew. And I was like, stop jumping when the wind blows. So then every time the wind would blow, both kids would start jumping because they thought it was going to carry them away. And I'm like, this is why we can't have nice things. This is exactly why right here. I'm like, stop trying to leave and jump. Stop jumping when the wind is blowing, or you're going to fall over into a big pile of bison poop. And right as I said that, like right on the trail as we were walking, we saw a big pile of bison poop. I'm like, you see the poop? You're going to fall in it if you keep jumping. You got to con your kids this way. And don't tell me you've never conned your kids into doing things, because everybody's conned their kids into doing things. I con my kids into doing things all the time. Like when we got back, I was like, all right, now everybody's got to get a shower. And Orion's like, oh, come on now. Orion's big rule is he doesn't like getting showers. And I'm like, I get it, dude. I get it. I don't like taking showers either, believe me, because I don't like being wet. You know, however long that you're in the shower and then getting out and everything else, I hate it. I can't stand it. I don't like being wet. I just don't like the way it feels. Especially if like my hair's wet and I put like a shirt on, or if you don't dry off all the way, that feeling on the back of your back with the shirt touching the water from the shower and everything, I can't stand it. I just can't. Anywho, so I conned Orion into taking a shower because I was like, look, you went outside. You know the rule. Anytime you go outside, gotta get a shower. And he goes, I thought we had to wash our hands. I'm like, that too, but you can wash your hands while you wash your entire body. We were hiking. You probably sweated, and when you sweat, you stink, so it's time to get in the shower. So I've been like bribing them with like gum and stuff to do things around the house lately too. So when we were out there, I told them, you know, if you just hang tight and let us walk around the park and stuff, we'll take you guys to get something to eat. Because we had packed food, but I was like, they don't want no packed food. When you go out places, you don't want packed food. So I told them we'd go find somewhere to eat. Well, we go to try to find something to eat, and we get up the street. Now, we don't have a lot of cool restaurants in our town. Like, we have Dairy Queen. I think we have a Wendy's. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I know we have a Dairy Queen. We have a KFC. We have, what is it? Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa John's, stuff like that. We don't have like Burger King or Taco Bell, which are the two major restaurants that we used to always visit. So when we get to Dickinson, which is I think 30 minutes away from where we were at, we get to Dickinson, we're driving on the strip where all the food places are. There's Burger King, there's Taco Bell, there's McDonald's, there's Dairy Queen. And the kids, what is it with little kids and McDonald's? Now, I'm not a big McDonald's person, okay? Miss Coffee just does, I can't do McDonald's. I'm not loving it, so I can't do the McDonald's thing. And we get on the strip, and they see all these other restaurants. They're like, look, Taco Bell. Look, Burger King. Look, Dairy Queen. Can we go to McDonald's? No. What? No. Gross. No. I don't like McDonald's. I really don't. Their food is gross. I just can't get down with McDonald's. But for some reason, it's like ingrained in every child's skull that they just love McDonald's and McDonald's is life. And I'm like, look, listen, McDonald's will take your life with all the calories you're eating out of that place. Like, I can't do McDonald's. I was scarred from life by the McDonald's we had where I lived at in Pennsylvania, because it was always just so disgustingly dirty, and I couldn't eat there. And so I stopped eating McDonald's. So we're like, no, we're going to go over to Burger King. And Orion's like, I don't want Burger King. I want McDonald's. I'm like, look, listen. I haven't had Burger King in a year, okay? We are going to Burger King. And Maggie's like, can we have tacos? I'm like, you don't even like meat. For some reason, Maggie has these little spurts. I thought she was getting back into eating meat again because she ate chicken nuggets. I was sadly mistaken. Apparently, she only ate them for that day, but every other day after that, she's like, no. Also, weird question. To all your parents, to all the parents out there, do you have kids that I'm just wondering if Maggie's the only one that does this. For some reason, Maggie gets really upset if you serve her hot food. Now, I have never, like, you would think you'd said the most disrespectful stuff to Maggie if you give her hot food. If you give her hot food, she will cry, throw a fit and everything. It's too hot. I'm like, you could never be one of the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You could never be a bear. And she's like, but why? I'm like, because you don't like hot food. What kind of kid doesn't like hot food? And I'm like, half the time I'll give her food and she'll look at it and be like, it's too hot. I'm sorry that I cooked you a hot, delicious meal. I mean, you know, some kids don't out there, like all parents do that. They do that. Some kids out there don't have food. Like your kid grasps the concept that there's people out there that don't have food. They don't fathom these things because they don't see these things. So they don't know what you're talking about. They just think you're insane because you're telling them that other children don't have food. So then they're wondering what other children you're talking about. And so, of course, Orion goes, but mommy, who doesn't have food? And I'm like, well, there are starving children in Africa and, you know, some of these third world countries that just don't have food. And he goes, well, they can have mine because I don't want it. You know what? Look, listen, we're not traveling to Africa to give them your plate of pork chops, okay? He goes, well, I don't want it to go to waste and I'm not eating it. I'm like, why aren't you eating it now? Like, Orion goes through spurts where he'll be super picky about things. Like, he will only eat mashed potatoes if he can put ketchup on it. Like, that, I'm like, that's weird, dude. Now, I have an Uncle Cedric that's like that. He will put ketchup on everything. But, like, me, I don't put ketchup on my mashed potatoes or anything. And so when Orion started doing this, I'm like, where did you pick this up from? Because this is, like, disgusting. But it's something that he likes, like weird food combos. What's a weird food combo that you like? I think Stitcherisa had asked that question in one of her videos, and all I could think of was my cucumber and pickle salad, because apparently all I want is a cucumber and a pickle in a salad form with ranch dressing. So I'm like, okay, Orion, like he legit will not eat mashed potatoes without ketchup on it. So if we make mashed potatoes, of course he has to have ketchup, but then if you make hot food, Maggie won't eat it. So you have to let Maggie's food sit until it's cold, and then when she goes to eat it, she goes, this is cold. You know what? I give up. Like, I'll just throw my hands up and walk away at this point, because at this point I'm too frustrated to even care anymore. So yeah, anyways, we get to Burger King, we order our food, and we order inside. And of course the inside is empty because with social distancing and all that other fun stuff, they aren't allowing people to sit in restaurants up in where were we? Up in Dickinson. So because they weren't allowing people to sit up in the restaurants, we had to order our food, and we just ate it in the truck, which was fine. We didn't mind eating in the truck, but I was just like, you know, I didn't realize, because where we live, you can go sit down and eat in the restaurants now. But in certain places, I guess they're still not allowing you to eat in restaurants, which is fine, because again, we ate in the truck. But we're sitting there eating, and Maggie's had a loose tooth for about 2 weeks now, and the little tooth is literally hanging on by hopes and prayers, okay? Like, this little tooth, I was waiting for her to chew into that chicken nugget and break it off and it finally come out, because she keeps whining about it, but she won't let you pull it. So I'm like, you know, either you're one good fall away from getting that tooth knocked out, or it'll fall out on its own in your sleep. Because Maggie, the last 2 or 3 teeth that she's had fall out, she swallowed, and she's like, does that mean now I'm pregnant? And I'm like, I'm sorry, say what? She thought that if you swallowed your teeth, that meant you're pregnant. And I'm like, there's not a bunch of people just walking around swallowing teeth, honey. No, that's not how you get pregnant. She goes, how do you get pregnant? I'll tell you when you're older. These are the type of questions my 7-year-old asked me. So I'm just like, yeah, no, we're gonna tell you when you're older. So then we get our Burger King. We sit in the car, we're eating, we're having a good old time, and we go back out to the thing there, and we finish the night off. Now, I don't mind prairie dogs, okay? Let me just make that clear. I don't mind prairie dogs. But they're creepy. Anything that comes in a pack is creepy, okay? Like, you can have one ladybug and be like, oh, that's cute. But then you get a swarm of ladybugs and you're ready to freak out. I don't know why that is. It just is what it is, okay? So at the park, as we go back, we're passing all the stuff that we passed the first time. And for some reason, we missed something that said about don't feed the prairie dogs. And I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, the kids are eating snacks in the car because we finished dinner, so they were having a snack. And Maggie had some white cheddar cheese popcorn. And right as we had parked at one of the spots to look out, because there was like a bunch of bison just laying around and sitting around or whatever. And right as we get there, Maggie goes, "Oh, Mommy, look, a prairie dog." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's a baby." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." She goes, "Can I get it?" I'm like, Can you get it what?" And she's like, Can I take it home?" "No." "But why not?" I'm like, "Because that's kidnapping." She goes, "So?" I'm like, "So would you be happy if somebody kidnapped you?" "Yes." "No, oh my God, no, you can't have people kidnapping you." And she kept trying to fuss with me about wanting to take home this prairie dog because it was so cute. Well, the little prairie dog then comes up to her side of the car and starts screeching. Now, if you've never heard a prairie dog screech, it sounds like a small child screaming. And so when it did that, it scared the crap out of me. And I'm like, "Maggie, could you please stop screaming?" She goes, "Mommy, that's not me. It's the prairie dog. I told you he wants to come with us." I'm like, "He's not coming with us." Here, come to find out, Maggie had tossed a piece of popcorn outside of the window and fed the prairie dog. We're literally parked in front of a sign that says, "Don't feed the prairie dogs." Y'all, I don't know what to do with this kid anymore. At this point, I don't give up, but at this point, mentally, I don't know what to do with this kid anymore. Like she's doing the most. Let's just say that she's doing the most, and I don't appreciate it. So I made her close her window, and she wasn't allowed to talk to the prairie dog anymore, to which it screeched by the car for the next 25 minutes. So we decided to move away from that area so that it would stop screeching at us because it was scaring the living crap out of me. But if you never heard it at night, like prairie dogs at night, when they're like, and I guess they have different calls for everything. We're laying there, and then all you hear is just this blood-curdling screeching, and it sounds like when you're down south and you can hear crickets. It was the equivalent to hearing crickets, except for it wasn't crickets. Yeah, no, I'm not gangsta like that. I'm not about that life, so I don't, no, never again. I'm not an outdoorsy person as it is, and I don't know how I got conned into camping, but let's just say, yeah, no, Miss Coffee's not about that life. So it was a good day on Saturday, and we got back Sunday about noonish time, and getting everything settled and cleaned up, and getting the kids cleaned up, and getting me and Mr. Coffee cleaned up, and trying to figure out what we're going to do for dinner, because at this point I'm not cooking anything because I'm too exhausted to exist. And so we had decided to eat leftovers from the night before we left. And it didn't help that both me and Mr. Coffee stayed up late Friday evening, so we were kind of tired Saturday when we were at the park. We perked up, of course, because with the winds and the heat, yeah, it's kind of hard not to perk up with that going on. But by the time we got home, getting like fighting with Orion about the shower, and me telling him, I don't like taking showers either, but it's something you got to do so you don't smell like hot garbage and old cheese juice. And he's like, "I don't smell like that." I'm like, "You will if you don't take a shower." I don't think I've ever seen a kid get in the shower so fast in my entire life. So yeah, so we get the kids in the shower and we get all settled and everything, and Maggie's like still pouting because she wanted to bring home the little prairie dog, and we had to go take the dogs out, of course, because we had just gotten the dogs back from the border, and go to take the dogs out, and we were walking to go take the dogs out, and right as we're walking up the street, we see something cross the street really fast. I thought it was like a mouse or something because, of course, we're living in North Dakota. There's not a whole lot of woods, but then again, I haven't really seen any mice here either, so I just assumed it was a mouse because it looked like a mouse. It was really small and long, and I thought it was a mouse, but here it was a prairie dog. And she goes, "Mommy, look, it followed us home." I'm like, "What?" And I look over, and there's this little baby prairie dog, and I'm like, "Honey, that's not the same prairie dog." And then I started thinking to myself, I'm like, if the prairie, like, there were so many, like, okay, at one point there was like 50 prairie dogs at one spot that we were standing at the park. So now I'm kind of freaked out because I've seen a big bunch of prairie dogs, and Maggie's just, her only concern is wanting to bring it home to raise it as one of her own. And I'm like, "You're 7. You don't even take care of yourself. I take care of you." And she goes, "Yeah, but I can be a good prairie dog, Mommy." I'm like, "Honey, let's stick to the babies in your room." She goes, "Well, Mommy, I don't really have to do anything for them. They're not real. The prairie dog is real, though. He can be a real baby." And I'm having to explain to her why, again, you can't make wild animals pets. And she goes, "Well, what about Carol Baskin?" Now, if you guys didn't know about Tiger King, who doesn't know about Tiger King? If you don't know about Tiger King, you pause this video and go watch Tiger King. Don't worry, I'll wait. All right, you back? You good? You know what Tiger King is? You're scarred for life just like the rest of us? Okay. So I was like, Maggie, Carol Baskin doesn't have pets. Like, they're not sitting in her house. And she goes, well, with the way she's acting, they could be. I think her husband should be careful. He might get eaten by the tigers. And I'm like, why do you say that? She goes, because her first husband got eaten by the tigers. And I'm like, and we're changing the subject because you should not know at 7 years old that Carol Baskin killed her husband. So yeah, so it was a great weekend. When we finally got home and settled, everybody essentially zonked out, took a nap. I stayed up a little bit because I had stuff I had to do, but everybody's like kind of just passed out all over the place. So I'm cleaning up and taking care of the dogs and everything, and just that one day was just so exhausting. And I think part of it too was because it was just so hot. So we plan on going back to the South End again, because again, there was a lot of trails that we didn't get to hike because it was so hot, and I didn't want to have the kids out there in that heat. And so we plan on going back. And the other thing is, when we were there, we saw a bunch of trailers, and I'm like, what's up with the trailers? Well, apparently they have horseback riding trails, but you have to, of course, bring your own horse. And I'm like, I think we need a horse. We need to go find a horse. I want to go horseback riding. And he's like, Mr. Coffee's looking at me like, okay, that's random. I'm like, it's not random. I need a horse. We need to go horseback riding. It's been a very, very long time since I've been horseback riding. So I really want to take, the kids have ridden horses before at a fair. So it was just essentially them riding the horse and somebody like pulling the horse in a circle. But apparently that wasn't good enough for them, because even they were just like, yeah, we should go horseback riding. So we don't have horses, obviously, so we're not going to go horseback riding, but we would like to go back to go hiking up the trails and stuff to see what the trails have. But I'm worried that we're going to go hiking, and I'm not so much worried about snakes. I mean, I am, but not as much as the prairie dogs, because they don't seem to mind people. Like, the animals at this park are so, I think the word I'm thinking of is docile, that you can drive by, walk by, whatever, and they won't mess with you. But of course, they have the signs up to say, you know, if you come in contact with, you know, a bison or a prairie dog, don't feed it, don't taunt it, don't whatever, just, you know, keep going, don't worry about the animal. Because, you know, even though they seem docile, they can and will attack you. So I'm like, I want to go hiking on the trail, but I'm worried that we're going to get attacked by prairie dogs or something. Like, it reminds me of, when we saw all the prairie dogs, it reminded me of that part in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Not the one with Gene Wilder, the one with Johnny Depp, where the squirrels came and were, like, messing with that girl because she wanted a squirrel. And that's what it reminded me of when I seen all the prairie dogs. Like, I feel like this is a really bad episode of Willy Wonka right now. So we finally got Maggie out of her wanting to have a prairie dog as a pet, and she settled down and she wanted to go outside and play. So I was like, all right, cool. So she's been spending a lot of her time outside playing, because it's been actually really nice out. Today is kind of gloomy, but it's been really nice out, and last night was the coolest thing ever. We're sitting there, and I'm sitting here on the couch watching her play outside, because I didn't want to sit outside because it was too hot. So I sat on the couch right here in front of the couch, or the window, and watched her ride her bike back and forth. Orion was just like, no, I don't want to go outside. And I had asked him for some reason. Something told me to ask him to go outside. He didn't want to go outside, so I was like, all right, fine. So he didn't go outside, and Maggie decided she wanted to go ride her bike. And now Maggie can climb over the banister and get on to the sidewalk by herself if she wants to. So all she really needs is you helping her get her bike over. Well, she gets her bike over. She gets her, you know, her helmet and stuff on, and she goes riding her bike. She's just minding her business, and the next thing I know, I see this cop pull up. And I'm just like, oh gosh, you know, what has Maggie done? Whose house has she burnt down? Because she would go out of sight for a few minutes and then come right back and then go out of sight. And then she was just riding up and down the sidewalk. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, the first thought that comes to my head is, whose house did she burn down? What does she do? Blah, blah, blah. And the cop waves at me and he waves at Maggie, and, you know, Maggie whistles. And when she whistles, it's the call Daisy. Daisy hears the whistle, jumps up, and is getting ready to jump over the balcony. So I get up and I tell Daisy to calm down. I'm like, Maggie, just see what he wants, baby. And I guess he hands her a piece of paper, and I'm like, oh, that's odd. They must have some event or something going on in town. Well, here, apparently in Williston, I don't know if they do anything like this anywhere else. If they do, write it down in the comment section. Do your local police departments do anything for the kids in your neighborhood? I thought it was a really, really cool idea. What they do is, if they catch a child riding their bike, scooter, skates, whatever, if they catch a child riding safely, they get a free ice cream cone from Dairy Queen. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, because I don't know how many of y'all remember back in the day. I remember growing up and we had the Get Smart program and we had Dare. And I was just talking to Becky from Becky's Madness of Crafting about this. When I was little and lived in South Carolina, if you would give the cops a thumbs up when they drove past, they would stop their car and give you candy. I remember doing this every summer growing up because, you know, why not? It's free candy from the police officers. Like, and the police officers back then were cool. I don't know when or why they stopped doing that, but they did. But I can still, like, pump my fist at a truck driver and he'll honk his horn. But for some reason, the cops don't give out candy anymore to the kids. So when she comes up to me and she shows me what she got, and I'm like, well, Maggie, what did he give you? And she goes, ice cream. And I'm like, ice? What? And of course, I'm like, okay, so she didn't burn somebody's house down. He didn't arrest her or anything. So I go over and I look at the piece of paper that he gave her, and he has, like, his name and his badge number on it, and he waves by, and I wave by to him, and I look down, and she goes, Mommy, now can we make the cops cookies? Maggie has been bugging me to make the cops cookies for the last week or so. I don't know what's her deal in wanting to give the cops cookies, but she's not only been wanting to make them cookies, but she's been reading the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. So she wants to essentially go give the cops cookies. And I'm like, in my mind, with everything going on right now, I'm like, I don't see them accepting homemade treats. Like, I can probably buy something to send to them, or like have some pizzas delivered to them, but I can't, like, make cookies and give to them right now. Like, I don't think they'd be able to accept them, and I don't want to bake something that they have to throw out because, you know, they can't accept gifts from, like, the public or whatever. So I was like, we'll figure out something to do for them. So if you guys have any ideas of what I can give the cops, like, let me know, because then Maggie will stop asking me, can we give the cops cookies? And I guess I asked her later on, I was like, hey, you know, why do you want to make the cops cookies so bad? And after she got that coupon, she just wouldn't stop. She was relentless. She wanted to give the cops cookies. And I'm like, why? And she goes, because they're sad, Mommy. I'm like, why do you think the cops are sad? And she's like, there's a lot of bad stuff going on right now, Mommy. Now, I forget, my kids will sometimes watch the news. I don't watch the news, but they have TVs in their room. And a lot of times when Maggie turns her TV on, it's on the news. So she will watch the news and she sees some of the stuff that's going on. But in her mind, because she's 7, all she sees is that there are some sad cops. And when she's sad, cookies cheer her up. So she wants to bake the cops cookies. And I'm like, that's very sweet of you, honey, but I don't know if we can make the cops cookies. And she goes, well, it'll make them happy, Mommy, and then everybody will be happy because the cops have cookies. I'm like, well, what about everybody else? Don't they get cookies? She goes, well, right now we need to focus on the cops, Mommy, because they're the sad ones. I'm like, there's other sad people in the world, honey. And then, like, I'm explaining to her, like, not fully explaining to her, but explaining to her in a way that I feel that she would understand, like, what's going on. And she goes, well, then maybe everybody should just make everybody cookies, because when me and Orion fight, you tell us to knock it off and then make us do something nice for each other. So maybe we should all just do something nice for each other and everybody will be happy. And I'm like, if it was only that simple, honey. And she goes, it is. You just make cookies in your oven and then you give them to people. And I'm like, okay. So Maggie's cure for the world's sadness right now is if everybody could just get together. We're going to have everybody just get together and we're going to make cookies for everybody so that everybody is happy. So I thought that was just really cute and I'd share it with you guys. So yes, Maggie got her first official ticket from a police officer and it was for ice cream. And then of course she comes in and she tells Orion, she goes, Orion, look what I got from the cops. Now the kids are all about the cops nowadays because of everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks. So now Orion's like, oh, you got ice cream? And she's like, yeah, I was riding my bike with my helmet. Now both kids have helmets. Orion, of course they have helmets. They're kids on bikes. Like, I'm not trying to have my kid crack their skull. And again, my dad was a paramedic and an EMT pretty much my entire childhood. So like, I didn't want to have to worry about them hurting themselves riding their bikes and stuff. And so they both have helmets. Orion has a helmet that looks like Batman. And then Maggie has her little Paw Patrol helmet. And Orion sees the fact that she got an ice cream coupon. And he then decides, okay, I got to go outside. Now, at this time, it's like 6, 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, you're not going outside to go ride your bike. He goes, well, I want ice cream too. And I'm like, don't we all want ice cream, dude? But no, we're not going outside right now. He goes, well, I'm going to ride my bike all week so I can get a free ice cream. I'm like, it wasn't just the fact that she was riding her bike, dude. It was the fact that she was being safe. And he goes, I'm safe. I'm safe in my room with my video games. I'm like, yes, dear, you're safe in your room with your video games. All right, sorry about that. Maggie came out. She wanted to take a little break from homeschooling. She still is doing her homeschooling as we're talking, because I figured this would be the best time to do it because of the fact that the house is quiet. Mr. Coffee's still asleep. Orion's still asleep. It's just me and Maggie up, and she's been doing homeschooling, and since I can't help her, I was like, oh, I can record my videos. I have quite a few videos to record today. There are some weeks where I feel like I'm on track for everything, and then there's other weeks where I'm like scrambling around to get everything recorded. So this is one of those weeks where I'm kind of scrambling a little bit. It's all right, though. Also, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and put a little smiley face in the comment section. Let's see how many people have actually watching this entire thing. Especially whipping chats like this where I'm like all over the place. Yeah, let's see how many people actually watch these things the whole way through. Also, for making it this far, I will announce in this video, which you'll see a video coming up for it right after this video. I have a giveaway coming up, another one. I know you're probably like, yeah, we know, DIY Moonshop. If you did not know, you have to comment in the comment section, not reply to somebody's comment, but you have to actually comment in the comment section of the DIY Moonshop video to be entered in to win. The prompt that you have to put in is in the video, and I tell you in the video to comment down below. Don't reply to somebody else's comment, because the comment picker will not pull your comment as a reply. It will not pull your comment. So if you want to be considered, you want to make sure you're commenting on the video and not replying to somebody else's comment, because I had quite a few people that I had to let them know, you know, hey, don't reply to somebody else's comment. Make your own comment to say that, you know, whatever. So I have the DIY Moonshop giveaway happening, but tomorrow you guys are going to see a video, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway for Arteza. Arteza contacted me and asked me if I would like to show a couple of things on the channel to you guys, because, you know, like at least once a month I show you guys stuff from Arteza. So they sent me a couple of things, and I'm going to do a drawing for you guys. I'm not sure what I'm going to draw, but we're going to try to draw something. But they wanted to do a giveaway on the channel, so we're going to do a giveaway for Arteza, and what you'll win is like some color pencils and some of their little mini coloring books. They let me pick the prize, and I thought, since some of the people on my channel do color, they enjoy adult coloring, why not make the prize some adult coloring supplies? So if you enter in to win to that contest, you'll win some coloring supplies, which would be really cool. But that video will go up right after this one, like the next day after this one, so be looking out for that. So yeah, so it's been a relaxing time. Mr. Coffee is still off work. He's off work until Sunday. He's been working on his homework, and him and his brother have been playing some pirate game. I don't know what it is, which we were laughing yesterday because everybody's comments, I was telling everybody, and everybody was trying to, you know, when I did the unboxing on Sunday for Diamond Art Club, I had mentioned that my kids have an Uncle Jesse, and if you could tell me what the reference was that I was trying to make, you got 20 cool points. Now, the cool points don't mean nothing. They're just cool points that I use. It's just a stupid little point system I have in my head for some reason. And a few people did guess it, but some people were just like, you know, I don't know what the reference is. The reference was Full House, because in Full House, if you remember, John Stamos was Uncle Jesse. He was a musician. And so I always made fun of Mr. Coffee's brother because, one, I watched this kid grow up. And two, he's been into music for as long as I've known him. So, like, I always call him their Uncle Jesse, which his name actually is Jesse, but they were laughing because everybody's comments and a thing, and Uncle Jesse says thank you to everybody for, you know, making him blush. And I was like, you have a few marriage proposals, I think, coming out of this one. And he's like, I'm not looking to get married right now, but thank you. So, like, we were laughing at the fact that everybody was going gaga over him, and I'm just like, y'all are too funny. Like, I can't handle y'all right now. Like, and we finally got out of comment jail. Now, in the group over the weekend, we were numbering comments to win the Diamond Art Club drill pin. We already announced the winners. That giveaway ended on Sunday. I think I started it Friday night, and then it went until 4 o'clock on Sunday. Problem was, when you make comments on Facebook, if you make more than, I think, 200 or 300 comments back to back to back to back, Facebook will block you from being able to comment. Now, I thought it was from the entire app. Like, I thought I couldn't comment at all, but here I could still comment. I just couldn't comment. I couldn't comment in the group, but I can comment outside of Facebook, and I could still make posts in the group. Rachel was commenting and helping me with the giveaway, so she got put in Facebook jail twice, where for 2 days, pretty much the entire weekend, she couldn't comment or anything, she couldn't comment or post anything. So I felt really bad. I'm like, we got to think of a simpler way to do this. I'm not sure if there is a simpler way, but we have to think of a simpler way to do it so we don't have to number and get, shadow banned from Facebook because of wanting to number comments. But thank you to everybody who participated in that giveaway. We are going to be probably doing another giveaway soon, so be looking out for that. Real quick before I leave, because I think we have like 10 minutes before I should get going and get the house settled and everything. What was I about to say? Oh, I was asked what the origin of my name. There's a couple of subscriber questions that I get asked a lot, that subscribers, especially people that are new to my channel, want to know, that I haven't necessarily talked about before. One of the biggest questions I get is, Miss Coffee, where did you get your name? And I'm like, my parents gave it to me. And they're like, no, your name for Facebook or for YouTube. Okay, so my name, when I first started YouTube, I think it was just Miss Crocheting Coffee. But then even now, I still have the same issue. People think that I only crochet. Which I rarely do crocheting on the channel. I do more diamond painting than anything else. But my name, I've actually had the name Miss Crocheting Coffee for, I want to say like 12 years. When I lived in Pennsylvania, I would do commission crochet projects, meaning I would sell projects that I crocheted, or people would contact me to have something made for them or for a charity, because I love donating to charity. So people would always ask, me to do stuff. The problem was people couldn't remember my name because I have a very, it's not unusual, but it's spelled unusual. So people kind of struggle and they're just like, how exactly do you say that? My real name is pronounced Alishia. Most people I just call me Leisha. And when I was living in Pennsylvania, most of the time I was named by kids. Like little kids would name me because they couldn't pronounce my name or something, or they couldn't remember it. And I actually went by a few names when I lived in Pennsylvania. One of the names I went by was Miss Coffee. And then the other name I would go by was the Picture Lady, because I did photography. Now, I don't know if they were all over the world or whatever, but inside of Walmart, they used to have a photography studio called Picture Me Studios. I'm pretty sure they've all closed down by now. I think they went bankrupt or something. But I used to work as a photographer for Picture Me Studios. I worked there for, I want to say, 3 or 4 years. And then I got out of it because it was right before they were getting ready to go bankrupt. And I had a feeling we were going to lose our job, so I quit. And then, of course, like, I don't know, a month later, the place ended up closing down. And I was like, I made the right decision. So the reason why I was called Miss Crocheting Coffee is because, one, when a lot of the times whenever people would come to my house to come visit, or if people were asking me about what I was crocheting or if I was crocheting something, there was always a cup of coffee nearby. And so the one day I went to, and I got a lady that messaged me and asked me about doing commission sales, and I was like, oh, what would you like? And she goes, well, aren't you the Crocheting Coffee lady? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you're the lady on the group that, because I was a part of a bunch of different groups that I would sell some of the crocheted items I made in. And she goes, you're the lady that always has a crochet and stuff, and people always say that your stuff smells like coffee, because my crocheting stuff would always smell like coffee because I was constantly drinking coffee. So they dubbed me Miss Crocheting Coffee. And like I said, I've had that name for 12 years. So I've always gone by Miss Crocheting Coffee. So when it came time to make my YouTube channel, I went and made it, and I was Miss Crocheting Coffee. And people ask me all the time, have you ever thought about dropping the crochet part? I'm like, nope. I've been Miss Crocheting Coffee for so many years. I have a business account under Miss Crocheting Coffee. I am Miss Crocheting Coffee. And then the other, because I'm not going to be Miss Diamond Painting and Coffee. Like, no, I'm not going to change it like that. If anything, I'd just change it to just Miss Coffee, because that's usually what people call me now, is just Miss Coffee. But, yeah, so that's how I got my name. I was named that from people in the town that I used to work in, doing commission sales for crochet projects, and they just called me Miss Crocheting Coffee because my crochet projects always smelled like coffee, and whenever I would take a picture of my work, I would always take a picture of it with coffee in the picture, so they called me Miss Crocheting Coffee. The other question I get all the time is, how did you meet Mr. Coffee? Well, that's kind of a funny story, and I think we have a few more minutes so I can tell you about the story real quick. All right, how did I meet Mr. Coffee? So when I worked at Picture Me Studios, I had a friend there. We're going to call him Roscoe. And my friend Roscoe liked me. I didn't like Roscoe like that. Roscoe liked me like that. And I was just like, You ever had that one person that likes you like that and you're just not, you're not feeling it, and you're just like, no. That was Roscoe. So, Roscoe invited me to his house one night to come hang out with him and his friends, because all his friends were bringing dates. He needed a date. I didn't realize that until I got there. And when I got to his house, Mr. Coffee was there with his, at that time, girlfriend. And I took one look at Mr. Coffee and I was like, oh boy. Yeah, that's delicious. That's going to be mine. And when we went into my friend's house, we were all, like, they were drinking beers and talking and everything else. And I was just kind of sitting there like a fly on the wall, just kind of like, okay, this is boring. I should probably go home now. Like, I'm bored out of my mind. Whatever. I'm over it. And my friend Roscoe decided he was going to drink. I guess he hadn't drank in a while or something. He drank one beer and passed out. And we were just like, okay. Well, I guess Mr. Coffee used to be a graffiti artist, so he had a backpack with him. And when I've met Mr. Coffee, he had like the parachute pants and the emo get up. So he had like a white t-shirt on with a black button-up shirt and the big old fluffy pants with the legs that are like big. He called them midget smugglers. And so he came over to me and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" I'm like, "Hey, my name's Alishia." He goes, "I'm JD." I'm like, "What's up, JD?" And JD was just, I guess, a nickname for him. I didn't learn what Mr. Coffee's real name was until later on in life, but that's a story for another day. Anyways, he comes over and he pulls out two big old giant jumbo Sharpies and he goes, "Hey, you want to color on your little friend here?" And I'm like, "Hell yes, I want to color on him." So we took and spent the next, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes just drawing stuff on this kid's back, because he took his shirt off before he passed out. And then when he passed out on the bed, we just took the Sharpies and just started drawing random stuff all over his back. So his entire back was covered in black Sharpie. And I got to know Mr. Coffee in that short period of time, from the look on this, from the scowl on his girlfriend's face. She didn't like that very much. But I got to know him then, and then I kept seeing him when I worked at Picture Me Studios. He would come into Walmart with his friends and everything to come buy stuff from Walmart. And over the course of a couple of months, he would come in and say hi, or, whatever. And we started talking, and he later broken up with his girlfriend for whatever reason. And I was like, this is my way in. At that time, me and Minna's dad were split up, and we weren't getting back together. So I was like, I'm single, ready to mingle. Yeah. So when he asked me, to go hang out with him a couple of times and everything else, we started officially dating, because his mom comes up to me and she goes, "Are you two dating yet?" Now take it. We weren't dating. We were messing around, but we weren't dating. But I can't tell his mom that. So I'm like, yes. So we started dating July 26th of 2009. And then we got married October 26th of 2009. So that is how I met Mr. Coffee. But with that said, that is it for me, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel and would like to see more random crazy videos just like this, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified anytime I randomly decide to put up a video. And believe me, it's random. But with that said, folks, I now must bid you adieu. But not before reminding you, like I always try to be kind, be courteous, be cool. Bye, guys.